Hey Passion students, welcome back to Group Week. So glad you guys are linking in. We're going to start a new series together today, which I'm really excited about. Just before we do that, I wanted to say thank you for joining us for our dating series, and thank you guys for coming out so strong at the Rising last night. It was an unbelievable night. I've heard so many stories of people who texted me or Insta messaged me and said, hey, we bringing our friend, they're not following Jesus, and they came last night and they ended up putting their faith in Jesus, which is incredible. So thank you for being Winsome people, for being with some students, and November 1st is our next one. Hope you guys will be there for that. It's going to be an amazing night. We're going to kick off a new series called Us, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to talk about the DNA of Passion City Church, of Passion students, why we do what we do, what makes our culture, what makes it feel like us. And I can remember when I was your age, I was in high school, and the generation that was just ahead of me would try to get me to do a lot of things. Like, we want you to do this, we want you to go here, no, we don't want you to do that, oh, we do want you to do this. And I kind of knew what they wanted me to do, but I wasn't always sure why they wanted me to do it. And so I want to take a few weeks for us to talk about, here's what we want to do, and here's why we want to do it. Here's what we want to be true of our family. And the first one I want to talk about is this idea that you've heard us say a lot, which is this: Jesus is our lead story. That Jesus' name is the name that's up in headlights. He's the name that's central around here. And I don't want that just to be true of Passion City Church. I want that to be true of you, wherever you are. Maybe you're a student, you live in Alpharetta. I want that to be true of you. Like, I want people to walk by you in the hallway and go, man, that guy, I'll tell you what really matters to him is Jesus. Maybe you're a student at Grady. I want you to get to a point where people can come to your football games or basketball games and go, man, let me tell you what that guy's about. He is a really good football player, but man, that dude is about Jesus. And I want to call us all up to that. So I don't know what you think about when you hear the term lead story. I think about a newspaper. Maybe you think about some kind of news app, or some kind of social media app, or your Twitter app or something like that. And when you look at a newspaper, there's always the one story, that rises above all the other stories. There's one story that gets bigger print in bolder letters than all the other stories. And what I want to say to us today is there's a lot of things. Like, I picked up this newspaper today. Like, there's a lead story that gets big, bold print, but then underneath it, there's a million other stories. There's pages and pages and pages and pages of other stories. And what I want to say, just to be honest, is this: like, we don't get to choose everything that goes into our story. Some things have happened in my own life personally. Like, if I got to choose them, I would not put them in my story. I would just say, well, if I'm getting to choose, let's cut that out. Let's cut that out. I don't want that anywhere in my story. But to say that would make us fake, because and I know we don't get to choose that. Like, I've got failure in my story, and I don't get to choose whether or not that's going to be part of my story. I've got heartache, I've got pain, I've got crushed dreams, I've got things that fell apart, I've got relationships that just crumbled and fell apart. And I don't get to choose whether or not that's going to be in my story. But what I want to say to you today is we do get to choose where it's going to be in our story. You see, like, I can remember when I was in high school, I played tennis, which most of you know, which is not a big sport in the town that I came from. It was me and a bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds that played tennis. And I can remember this one time I won this big match in high school, and the guy came out from the newspaper, and he had this camera, and he did this, this article on me, and it was going to print in the newspaper. It was my first time ever going to be in the newspaper. And I can remember, like, waking up that next morning early, and I couldn't wait for the newspaper to be delivered to our house, so I had to go to the gas station and get it. I can remember checking out, like, trying to be cool, not looking through the newspaper while I was in the line, finally getting into the car and just, like, flipping it open, and it's like, okay, front page. Football, I knew that. I knew I didn't have a chance at the front page, and then it's like, open up to the second page, it's like baseball. And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. And then underneath it was like golf. And I saw golf, and it was like somebody punched me in the face. Like, golf made it ahead of me? And then, like, I looked over, and it was like, and softball, and like cheerleading. The cheerleaders did great. And, the equestrian team, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, keep flipping through the pages, looking for the story that they wrote on me. And it's like, can't find it. And then finally I turned over to the last page, and in the very bottom section, like in the part where everybody else is like advertising stuff, it's like people are selling hot tubs in this section, and then right over here in really small print, like 0.2 font, it says Partrick wins, and then it put the score. And I'm like, they can't even give me the decency to put my full name? That's how low on the totem pole the sport of tennis is in my hometown? Which it was. But here's what I've learned. Like, somebody, the editor of that newspaper, got all the stories together, and he had to decide, where are we going to put everything? We got to put football towards the top. Then we got to put this. Then we got to put that. Then we got to put this. He didn't get to choose whether or not I won or lost my match. And he didn't get to like choose whether or not, the baseball team did this or he didn't get to choose what the story was going to be. But somebody decided, where are we going to put it? And this is the opportunity that you have and I have. Because maybe in your story there is divorce. And and I know, and I don't want to make light of it, but you didn't get to choose that. Some of you are living in a home right now. You've had one parent in your house for a long time. You're like, man, if I could have chosen, I would have never made this my story. But it's there. And some of you have failure. Some of you have heartbreak. Some of you have, man, I wanted to get into this school. And then when I thought I was going to get the acceptance letter, I actually got the rejection letter. And that's like in my story, man. And I want to say, like, what I want to call us to is, yes, it's in our story, but it doesn't have to be right here. It doesn't have to be the story that gets the big, bold print. It could be the story that lives back here somewhere in page 3 or page 8 in really small print. And what could get the big story is not rejection from a college. It could be acceptance from a father. It could be that Jesus is your lead story. And you get to determine that. And I get to determine that. What it says in the scripture in the book of Philippians, it says, therefore God exalted him. Who? Jesus. Therefore God exalted Jesus to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every other name. Another place in the book of Colossians, it says this. It says, Jesus is supreme over all creation. He's risen above everything else to have the supreme place above all creation. And if he holds that place, then I don't think he should hold like page 4 in our story. I think he should be up in lights. I think he should be central. I think he should be the point. I think he should be the main idea. I don't think he should be the subtitle. I think he should be the big title of our lives. I think when people get to know us, it shouldn't take them 5, 6, 7, 8 months of knowing us before they finally get to like page 4 and they're like, oh, and by the way, down here, he goes to church occasionally and says he loves Jesus. No, it should be like, man, as soon as they see us, what our Pastor Louis says sometimes, he says, people will see us long before they'll ever hear us. And so what would it look like if people could like see you and know when they looked at you, man, this guy, let me tell you, this girl, let me tell you what's important to them. This person, the lead story of their life is Jesus. And when we do that, our schools are going to change. Our campus is going to change. Our families are going to begin to change when we make the main thing the main thing. So maybe there's stuff in your story that you don't love. And if that's true, I'm sorry. But let's not spend another couple of months, let's not spend another year letting something lesser than Jesus take the lead story position in our lives. Because Jesus, the name of Jesus, the fame of Jesus, the grace and mercy of Jesus is the only thing that's worth the lead story in your life. So I hope you guys have some great conversation about how we can become those kind of people in your groups this week. And we hope to see you at the 5 o'clock. We love you. Take care.
Thanks for joining us. If you're a high school student in or around Atlanta, we would love to get you plugged into one of our family groups at Passion Students. Head to our website for more information.